What is a public speaker to do when the time he is allotted gets mostly eaten up by the opening speaker? That was a situation faced by Howard Rheingold some years back while he was speaking at a Portland, Oregon event honoring some of the fastest growing technology companies in the state of Oregon. How he reacted to the situation is instructive for all of us. What ended up happening is that Howard Rheingold, who, if you don't know Howard, he's an author, he's an internet sociologist and a cultural observer. He was supposed to have 20 minutes to speak. He only had 10 minutes left after the opening speaker went too long. So there he was. He stepped to the podium, and how did he react? He reacted differently than you might think. Rather than speeding up and trying to cram his 20 minutes of comments into just 10 minutes, what Rheingold did was the opposite. He slowed down. He spoke slowly and calmly. He distilled his content down to the most salient points, and he delivered those statements very deliberately, like a man who had nothing but time on his hands. So what was the result? His stage manner relaxed the audience. The distillation of his comments meant that every comment that Howard made was carrying a significant payload. In other words, they were all meaningful. And as he reached the end of his 10-minute presentation, during which he spoke about the implications of the rapid advance of technology, you could have heard a pin drop despite a room filled with 500 people listening to him. They were stone silent. They were mesmerized by what Howard had to say and his trenchant observations. Now, this is much simpler in theory than in practice. Most of us are not about to go ahead and on the fly change our script. And the notion of suddenly editing our planned comments on the fly it's a scary thing. But Rheingold pulled it off with a lot of style because he speaks often and expertly. He knows his content inside and out. He doesn't require notes. Revising his remarks at a moment's notice is really no big deal for a speaker as practiced and polished as Howard Rheingold is. Still, what if we face the same situation that he did? I say do as Rheingold did. Here is a simple strategy. Our planned comments are probably all organized in bullet points or numerically, or we have case studies or some type of format, whatever that format is. In any case, what we do is we make our point and then we elaborate on that point. We put flesh on the bones. What is too often forgotten is that offering just the bones, just the skeletal version of our presentation is usually enough. Audiences automatically add flesh to the bones provided we present a sensible, lucid concept or statement that is easily expanded in the minds of an astute audience. Rheingold didn't elaborate on his observations. He didn't have time. And he didn't need to. That's the interesting part. Because his high-level observations alone were vivid to the degree that the audience members understood the larger picture springing from the verbal gesture drawing that he was making there at the podium. Okay, so we're not as good as Howard Rheingold is on the stage. That's okay. Let us not walk away from this valuable lesson just because we're not as good as Howard. Go slow. Be poised, hit the high points, trust in the intelligence and mental creativity of our audience. It worked for Howard Rheingold, and Howard Rheingold would be proud of us if we did the same.